Okay, well, let's get started. So this topic was a topic that was suggested or asked for on how to step into the unknown with our practice. And the importance of it. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And when I thought about it and I really sit with it, I realized that, and I say this every week, but it's true, this is the practice. Stepping into the unknown is our practice, right? But I also thought about when you come to this practice, a lot of people come to this practice because they hear that it reduces suffering and it'll reduce anxiety and depression, and then they often hear talks about groundlessness, that there's no ground to stand on, or about this whole emptiness thing, that all phenomena is empty of lasting self or lasting specific satisfaction. and they're like, what? Or they're told to connect with their Buddha nature, and they're like, Buddha nature? What is this Buddha nature stuff? Or that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought I was going to get rid of pain, right? Or you get told that there's nothing that you can count on in this phenomenological world. And then you're like, wait a minute. Do you hear all these messages? Anybody raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about? So you hear all these, and that suffering is an inherent part of this practice. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, and that everything's constantly changing and temporary, and we can't count on anything because of that. And that the only thing that we know for sure is that we're each gonna die. Like, but we don't know when it's gonna happen or how it's gonna happen. And so, it can be some mixed messages. You think you're coming to this practice to reduce suffering, then you hear these things, you're like, what is going on? This is making me more anxious. But the truth is that these are the grounds for reducing suffering. These awarenesses will help us actually reduce suffering, because having awareness other than that is what causes our suffering. So we have to be able to explore the nature of how we cause our own suffering, right? That's what the Buddha taught, the Four Noble Truths. We have to see our suffering clearly, see the craving, desire, aversion that's causing our suffering, and then walk the path and in a really wise way work with this, the mind that creates suffering for itself, in a way that we don't have to carry this suffering on our backs for the rest of our lives. We learn how to let that go. And we also learn that we want to see suffering as our teacher, right? It's teaching us on a very deep level, in so many ways. And we get to see how we're have this death grip on things, having to go a particular way, or wanting to know how things are going to go, or wanting to be in control, of every last aspect of our lives. And instead moving towards kind of letting go of this control and moving towards ways of being receptive and open, and allowing for whatever's going to happen in life to happen. So yeah, I think that's the direction we're going to go in today. So being with our suffering in a wise way requires us to learn how to let go, right? And being willing to step into the unknown, because we don't know what's causing our suffering often until we see it clearly. And we don't know what brings happiness until we see that clearly as well. So our practice is to see things clearly, right? I say that a lot, but it's true. And we need to become, as we do this practice, we need to become comfortable with not knowing, with being uncertain, And being able to not only be comfortable with that, but learning how to embrace the space of not knowing. Really rest and get comfortable with it. But this goes against our every nature. Every cell in our body does not want to do that, right? So we're asking you to go against your original wiring and practice something different than our conditioning. Not only our inner wiring, but our conditioning says do something else. Control, manipulate, grasp, hold on to. And because of our wiring and conditioning, the mind tends to make things that are impermanent, you may have noticed this, permanent, right? It thinks that the sun will come up every day, that the weather will be good forever, that the climate won't change, or it deludes itself into believing that it can count on conditions being a particular way. That the mind deludes us into thinking that people will stay the same according to our, way that we've created our mind meld of who we think that they are. And we turn things in our minds that are uncount-onable as count-onable, right? It's just what the mind does. That's the nature of the conditioned mind. And we're saying we're trying to recondition the mind in a different way. Because the truth is, we really don't know what's going to happen this next moment. Think about it. Do you know what I'm going to say next? No. Hopefully I haven't become that predictable. But we don't know what's going to happen this evening. We don't know if when we lay our head down to sleep, we're going to sleep well, or we'll fall right to sleep, or we don't know what our dreams are going to be. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know if we'll have a flat tire tomorrow. We don't know what our health is going to be like. We don't know what our body's going to feel like. We don't know what kind of mood we're going to be in. We don't know what kind of mood our partners are going to be in. We don't know if the economy is still going to collapse tomorrow or still be, here. We don't know. That's the truth. And did our parents tell us that? Did our teachers tell us that? Our professors? Did anyone else tell us, hey, we really don't know. Can you rest in not knowing? Can you be with, and not only be with not knowing, but step into not knowing. Step into the unknown each moment. No moment is the same as any moment before. No moment is ever the same as any other moment before. Think about that. The wind has never hit our face just the way it's hit our face. The sun is, along with the sun, along with the temperature, along with the sounds, along with the body vibrations or sensations, along with the energy field in our body that day, all of the things that make up this moment have never occurred just like this before. Each moment is different. Each moment is unique and different. We watch a sunset, beautiful sunset, and we think, oh, wow, yeah, but it's just a sunset. No, we see the moon rise. No, it's just the moon. No, each moment is completely different based on where we're at, physiologically, emotionally, mentally, visually, right? But the mind makes it predictable. The mind overlays reality with the illusion of repetitiveness. Oh yeah, beautiful sunset. Okay, let me go do blah, 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 blah. Oh, the breeze feels good. Let me go do blah, 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 blah. It's like Groundhog Day. If we're getting bored, it's because we're not being aware. We're not being fully present with the many conditions, the phenomenological things that are happening right now. This is not Groundhog Day, right? Each moment is a mystery coming together in a very beautiful and unique way. But we don't know how it's going to come together because each moment's going to be totally different, right? Just now I had a bug in my hair. What are the chances of that? Anyhow, I didn't know that there was going to be a bug in my hair, or I think it was a bug, yeah. So the mind also creates a sense, this illusion of safety, that we're going to be safe all the time. And it creates this familiarity, this predictability, because it wants to feel safe, because it doesn't feel comfortable not knowing. The mind doesn't feel comfortable going into the unknown. And so we see that in our society, where now this new expression, everybody's saying the new normal. The new normal, like, is there a normal? Is there a lasting normal? How could there be when things are constantly changing, right? But this is the nature of the mind. This is what it wants to do. And the nature of this mind that doesn't like discomfort, that wants to survive, it does everything it can to reduce danger, which is wise, to increase our chances of survival, because we want to lead a healthy, somewhat secure life. And these are wise choices to do. We don't want to pretend like they're not. But we need to be aware that there is no lasting security. Really. Can't take it with us, even if we were secure to the end. We could lose everything. If you're a history buff, I know a few of you are, you will know that the human existence has been full of one catastrophe after another. Terrible storms that have wiped out entire civilizations or many populations, epidemics that have been much worse than what we're seeing now, wars that have taken so many people out, extreme poverty, homelessness, starvation. Yeah, the human race has survived a lot of crazy things. And to think that none of this will ever touch us again is delusion. We've been living, the mind creates a sense of delusion that everything's going to stay the same. And if you're a brown-skinned person, in the past as well as even in the present today, then you've been subject potentially to more of these conditions that cause harm, as we see from what's happening with this pandemic, right? It's affecting brown-skinned people at greater insecurity. And so we're not ever completely safe, is what I'm saying. And danger could befall us at any moment. I'll never forget when a friend of mine called me and told me that she had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer just a couple hours ago, and she had less than 6 months left to live. Right? She was a Buddhist practitioner, mindfulness practitioner, so she really took on the last few months of her life in a very present and mindful and beautiful way, opening and being receptive to being with the mystery of not only life, but the mystery of death, right? The mystery of the unknown. So we have this uncertainty that anything could throw us in a vulnerable position or at any time, really. And the only thing that we really can know for sure is our present moment experience is like this. And now it's like this. And now it's like this. And it keeps changing. We can kind of know that if I take really good care of myself, I eat really healthfully, and I exercise, take great care of my body, the chances are greater that I will live a healthier life until I leave. But we don't really know. So life is, it's uncertain, it's unpredictable. Nothing is guaranteed. My best laid plans can just go crashing against the rocks, right? Dashed against the rocks. The rug can get pulled out. I don't want to keep going on and on and start to sound like a really bad comedian. But I learned this at a very young age. I think I was, how old was I? 28, 29 years old. And I had just had my second child. was really excited, couldn't wait. I had had a boy, now I was having a girl. And shortly after I had my daughter, I got very, very, very sick. And I was so, my immune system quit working, my metabolism quit working, everything quit working. I couldn't stay awake. I could barely take care of my baby, and I was depressed. Oh, it was terrible. I was gaining weight. And I kept going to the doctors, and they kept saying, oh, postpartum blues, postpartum blues. And it took them 7 months to realize that my thyroid had quit working. But I had gone through the worst 7 months of my life, trying to take care of 2 children with a body that was literally falling apart. And I was suicidal, honestly. And then they put me on medication. I had just started to feel, starting to feel better, but I still had to take a 2 or 3 hour nap every day in the middle of the day. My daughter was a year and a half old. My son was 6 years old when my husband at the time, my partner at the time, decided that he was tired of this whole mess and he was going to leave. He took off. So here I was sick. I was unable to take care of myself. And I had no income and no partner and 2 young children to take care of. I was so scared. I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to function. It was a really difficult time. And my parents had just gotten rid of their 5th child like a month before this, and they were celebrating their freedom from raising 5 children. And I didn't want to show back up with 2 kids. I didn't want to just show up and say, hi, not only do you have me back, but you have 3 of us. Here we are, hi. So what I did is I kept searching and looking for opportunities that were available. And when one day somebody called me and said, hey, we have housing available for you and your children, low-income housing. I went on welfare. I went back to college. I got my bachelor's degree because I couldn't do anything else. I needed to nap every day. So for 2 years that I finished my degree, I was able to take care of myself, right? And it was an amazing experience being on welfare. I would never, ever give that away because it was humbling. And I learned that a lot of the people on welfare were really good people who were just dealt a really tough hand. Not all of them, but most of the women on welfare, like me, had been abandoned, and we're trying to raise kids and we're trying to figure it out. Yeah, so that experience taught me resilience. It also taught me that anything could happen at any time and to be open to whatever's going to arise. So I'm going to tell you the few tips that I'd like you to do with this practice of stepping into the unknown. And the first step is to accept that life is unknown. I mean, that's what I've been saying, right? That each next moment is unknown. And it's kind of like watching a movie for the first time. You know, when you go or you're watching a movie, you don't know what's going to happen. So your attention is pretty rapt. You're right there with the movie, waiting to see. You don't know the plot twists and turns. And so you're watching it all, right? As the movie is continuing. This is the movie of our life. We don't know the plots and twists and turns that are going to happen, right? We can have rapt attention, right? And be here. We can make our plans. We can execute safety measures to minimize our risks that could kill us. And those are smart things to do. But I'm asking us to step into the unknown each day, and that's your practice. Each day you don't know what's going to happen. Each day you're waiting or here for this moment is like this. Now this moment is like this. So when you wake up in the morning, remind yourself you really don't know how today will go. We hope it goes smoothly, right? But smooth is not guaranteed. Yeah, so each moment we're stepping into the unknown. And this doesn't preclude us from setting wise intentions to lead a wise and intentional life. We still want to do that. But we need to let go of the results and know that the result is unknown. The fruits that we get may not be what we planned on having. When I married, I planned on living forever with the man of my dreams and having a beautiful family with 2 kids. That's not what happened. Instead, I got this great life experience that taught me to be strong and resilient and courageous. So that's number 2, is call forward your inner warrior, your courageousness, the courage of your inner warrior. I love Pema Chodron talks about the inner warrior, the courage of the inner warrior a lot. So first step is to accept that everything's unknown. The second is to call forward your inner warrior. This inner warrior brings courage and fortitude when we need it, to stand firm and tall. It brings us confidence that we can face whatever comes our way. It gives us the courage to turn our head towards this moment and face the situation squarely without bending or breaking. Right. The third step is to bring this compassionate awareness, this mindful awareness, to each moment. Particularly anything that stops us from being comfortable with the unknown, with uncertainty. Right? So if I'm not able to be like in the aliveness of whatever's arising right now, what is it that's stopping me from being with the mystery that's being born this moment? Well, that needs to be attended to. See it clearly. Bring mindfulness to that as well. Not making it bad or wrong, right? Here's Pema Chodron. She says, each time you stay present with fear and uncertainty, you're letting go of a habitual way of finding security and comfort. So oftentimes not being able to be with the mystery of this moment is because fear and uncertainty are taking over. Particularly the fear that uncertainty brings. When we step into uncertainty and we embrace it, sometimes fear will arise. And the practice is ironically all about being with this discomfort and finding comfort in this discomfort in a healthy way. You know the Zen saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a broken fan belt and a leaky tire. You heard that? Zen, they have a lot of quirky Zen sayings, but that's true. We don't always know what's going to happen, and broken fan belts and leaky tires are going to happen. But once we let go to clinging, to safety and comfort and security, we can be free to experience whatever is arising with openness and curiosity. We don't know what's going to happen next. There's a story of the Buddha, one of the suttas, where he meets a traveler on the road. But this traveler on the road heard about this enlightened master, that there was this great enlightened master, the Buddha. And he decided he wanted the Buddha to become his teacher, and he wanted to learn from him. He was very excited. And he went on this long journey seeking and couldn't find the Buddha. And back in India, in those days, wherever they lived, they had the rains that would last for 3 months, very intense rains. And you couldn't travel, you couldn't do anything for those 3 months. So the monks would often go on rains retreats. The monks and male and female monks would go on rains retreats where they'd stay in a monastery for 3 months and just meditate the entire 3 months. But anyhow, while this man was searching for the Buddha, the rains started early that season, and he had to take refuge in some farmer's barn. Back then they were very gracious, and they'd take care of people that got stuck in their barns. But anyhow, he was really disappointed that he didn't find the Buddha on his long journey, and he's staying in this barn. Well, the very next day, guess who was on his journey to the rains retreat to meditate for 3 months when the early rains came? The Buddha was also traveling. And so he found this barn, and he asked the people if he could stay in this barn. They said, yes, there's another traveler in there if you don't mind. And he said, no, thank you very much. So he decided he was going to spend 3 months during the rains in this barn. And he said, good day, traveler, to the traveler. Hello, my friend. Who are you? So the man was saying who is his name, and that he was looking for this famous man called the Buddha, and he really wanted to be a student. And that he was very disappointed that he wasn't able to find him. And so the Buddha just kind of laughed and smiled and started giving him teachings. Started teaching him about the Four Noble Truths and about how to meditate and generosity and all. So the man realized immediately, oh my gosh, this is him. So what he thought was a really negative thing that happened to him turned out to be a gift, right? Being stuck with the actual man he had been looking for. So yeah, when we're open to whatever's arising in the here and the now, it can be a wild ride, right? We don't know where it's going to take us. But when we let go of the steering wheel, the death grip on the steering wheel, amazing things tend to happen. Synchronicities can occur. We meet people that we never thought we would meet in very strange places. Or weird things happen that we didn't know were going to happen. We meet new people that bring us on a different path than we thought were going to bring us. In fact, I never thought that I would be a Dharma teacher. I just love the Dharma and I meditated a lot, but this was not part of my plan. But certain things happened that brought me here. But when we see that life is, we're not at the steering wheel. The mind wants to think we're at the steering wheel, doesn't it? But we realize we're not. Life is at the steering wheel, and it's leading us wherever we're meant to go, so to speak. And once we start to let go of the steering wheel, we gain faith. We gain faith in the wisdom of life, the direction that life is bringing us. And we gain confidence in that we can deal with whatever's dished out, as I'm open to this moment and this moment and this moment, no matter how trying it is. I gain this courage and the strength, right? I'm able to connect to that part of myself. Once I start letting go of the death grip on controlling life, I'm able to drop into and connect with what the Buddha called the unborn, the undying, the unconditioned, our true nature. And then not only do I have conceptual faith, but I can drop into an even deeper level of knowing, oh, okay, this is life. And I've learned that I can trust in that, and I can rest in it, and that I don't have to always be at the steering wheel. And what happens then is that life starts to live through you, right? Instead of you having to push this train the whole time. Stepping back and let life living through you. And that happens by being in the mystery of uncertainty, being in the mystery of not knowing. Eckhart Tolle, he said, when you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. That's true. And Joseph Campbell says, we must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. I bet you never thought your life would turn out the way it is right now. So life, when we're trying to control and manipulate and force, It's something to endure. It's something to try to win at. You know, it can be a constant struggle and then relief and then struggle and relief. Let that go. Let go of the constant anxiety and fear and control and manipulation by dropping into uncertainty. And then life becomes an exciting adventure, like watching a movie with plot twists and turns. And your only job is just to show up. Just keep showing up. So thank you for listening.